this video, I'm gonna learn how to make rhythm music. Hopefully you'll learn from my process. Love it or hate it, this is a genre that is popular among a lot of bass heads. Now let's make this clear. I'm by no way an expert in rhythm music. This is just a video of me learning how to make this style of music. Hopefully this demonstrates to you that you can learn any style that you put your head to. It's about studying the patterns and sounds of the music and practice, practice, practice. In today's production landscape, we can benefit with curated sample packs that help speed up the composition process, especially if sound design is not your #1 skill. I've always said the most important skill is learning how to make a good piece of music. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of sounds put together. So today I'm going to be using LANDR Studio for the complete production of this track, namely LANDR Sampler VST, as well as their FX tools. LANDR is the sponsor for today's video. If you want to learn more about subscribing to LANDR Studio and receive a huge discount, check the link in the description. All right, let's go. All right, I've set my project tempo to 140 beats per minute, which is a common tempo for dubstep and rhythm music. And we're going to be using LANDR's Samples VST tool, which is integrated with the DAW. It allows you to preview samples at your desired key and BPM, making it easy to find samples that are compatible with your track. So let's filter for loops only, and then use the advanced filters to find samples that are related to our genre. So if I filter for drums, dubstep, and loops, and here's a few loops in LANDR Samples. So using the filters, I found this really cool pack called Dubstep and Rhythm Drums, and this is perfect for what we're going to be doing. So these are some great drum loops for our track. Once you have the sample, you can simply use this crosshair button, click and drag the sample into your project. All right, let's look for some bass sounds. And let's work on the top bass first. And from what I've studied in rhythm music, there usually is a screechy or industrial sounding growl sound. Usually there's actually 2 or 3 of these sounds playing call and response to create an interesting pattern. So let's filter by bass, and I'm going to be searching for rhythm here. There's actually a bunch of these cool growls and screeches that we can use. All these samples are great contenders for mid basses to create that rhythm in rhythm, for lack of better terms. So let's pull this bass sound into the track. Be mindful of the key that you've set your track to in LANDR Samples. Currently it's set to C major. So when you pull that sample, it's going to retune or pitch the sample to match C major. And don't ask me why I chose C major. It was just by default, and I actually overlooked it when I created this track. And then when the track was done, it just sounded good as is. So I left it as is. So for this first industrial growl sound, what I hear in a lot of rhythm is it's repeated on every beat just like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find another mid bass sound to fill in this gap in between these growls. So I found this sample from the same pack, which is a great contender because it has a different timbre to the original sound. So it'll make a nice call and response. Now it is a bit long, so we're going to just shorten the sample like this, and we can just fade it out like that. So it's a nice short sample. And to change out the pattern, we can have 2 like this. And then with the drums and the other bass sound, it sounds like this. Now in rhythm, it's important to change up the pattern so it's less repetitive, hence the name rhythm. So with this bass sound, we can introduce triplet rhythms. Just turn on the triplet grid. And then we can consolidate this sample so it bakes in this fade. This way, when you time stretch it by holding shift, clicking and dragging the end of the sample, you get a nice little condensed sample like this. And then you can duplicate the sample in the triplet position. And now we have this. Similarly, we can add another triplet pattern, but slower one. So instead of 1, 2, 3 like here, we change the grid size. Now it's 1, 2, 3. We can put a sample here and a sample here. Just stretch out the fade. So now we have this. Here's the full pattern. All right, so we have the mid bass sounds, and now we need to add a sub bass underneath. And usually what I've heard in RIDDIM is a pulsating, repetitive sub bass, something like this sound from the same sample pack. Let's repeat this on every beat. Now, to make this more interesting, we can have a little bit of syncopation, so adding an additional sub bass note in between can make this more interesting. So I'm going to use the triplet pattern again, and we can simply take this note, copy it here. We might want to add a bit of fade here. Let's take this further. Let's add one in this gap, and then over here, let's duplicate it a couple times. So we have this. The result. With the mid basses. Now, since we have a number of bass sounds layered together and some of these samples have sub bass underneath, we may want to do some cleaning in the mix. So for this sample, let's add a high pass to the bass, get rid of the bottom end. Similarly, for this screech sound, let's apply a high pass. And then I'm going to use a frequency shifter to change the timbre of the sound just slightly. And LANDR has a bunch of FX VSTs to help you beef up the sound and really make it cut through the mix. So this particular VST called LANDR FX Electric helps bring out some of the mids in that sound. Here's the before and after. Just makes it cut through in that mix. And these tools are included in LANDR Studio. And then for the sub bass, let's employ a low pass and get rid of some of those high frequencies. And this time I'm going to be using LANDR FX Bass to make that sub more thumpier. That's sounding nice. All together. Much cleaner. All right, we have the main drop of the track. So now let's start building out the intro. So we're going to find some harmonic layers to build the intro. And a lot of RIDDIM I've been hearing has a lot of like gothic sounding intros. So let's look for some vocals and choir samples, and let's set it to loops. And I found these two. And remember, this key drop down matches the sample to your desired key. You can check other keys and then it'll repitch it. So that's really handy. Then there's this sample here. Also found this really cool vocal loop. Here's all three harmonic layers, and remember when you use the crosshair to pull the sample into the DAW, it repitches the sample to match the desired key. Let's pull in a snare roll from this pack. The snare from this first hit of the snare roll, and let's duplicate it. So we now have an increasing build. Pull this riser from LANDR. Usually right before the drop, there's usually this growly vocal. So I found this AAA game character Dark Lord sample pack, which is pretty ideal for RIDDIM.
Our base is under attack. I need more mana. Such a waste. You are weak. Release.
This release sample is perfect. To help the build out, let's duplicate the kicks. I find when you're doing kick builds during the very last 2 or 4 bars, you might want to introduce a high pass filter sweep to remove some of that energy from the kick right before it drops so there's more impact. All right, so we have all the sounds ready. So I've arranged the track. I have the 16-bar intro with 2 of the choir sounds. I've moved the other vocal sample to the drop here. And right when that vocal, that Dark Lord vocal happens, I just muted all the sounds here for more impact, and then it drops to the bass. And so that's the basic arrangement. And once you have the mix and arrangement ready, I'm gonna pull in LANDR mastering into the master channel, and this will optimize the mix and levels of the track for maximum beefiness. Here's the before and after. LANDR mastering, it sounds a little more open. Some of the sounds cut through a bit better. All right, let's hear the track in full. All right, and not bad for the beginnings of my first RIDDIM track. Remember, all the samples and sounds I'm using, as well as some of the tools and LANDR mastering, are all included in LANDR Studio. If you're interested and you want to learn more about LANDR Studio, check the link in my description. There's also a really good discount for you guys if you sign up now. Hope you guys enjoyed watching my process of creating RIDDIM. Remember, learn how to make cool patterns with multiple bass sounds in call and response, add a sub bass, and create intros with matching harmonic layers. Finally, arrange the track and get the mix right. It's actually not that hard once you get the right sounds. Try it, and remember, just to have fun. My name is Stranger. If you want to learn more about music production and sound design, make sure you hit the like video and subscribe to this channel. If you want to support, I have a number of sample packs, preset packs, and ableton kits to help you along your journey. You can learn more down in the description below. If you want to see me create a deep and dirty dubstep track, check this Unique video up here. If you want to learn more classic dubstep sounds, check this video up here. All right, until the next video, stay safe, stay creative, and peace out.